Hello, friends, and welcome once again to yet another session of NITCO Talks. Today we have a different, fantastic panel, and the topic is crafting a future. We circulated the invite, and you would realize that this is a very, very important panel that is doing phenomenal activity, and this needs exposure, needs the world to get to know what can be achieved in India if we can get together all the craftsmen and the huge bank of fantastic craftsmen that we have in our country together. So we have to thank this panel for exposing this and promoting this. I'll do the introductions. Parul Zaveri. Parul, with late Mr. Nimish Patel, had established Abhikram, meaning initiation in Sanskrit and architecture, interiors, conservation and planning consultancy firm in 1979. Abhikram's 41 years of practice has been in pursuit for responsible architecture, focusing on the built environment that is functionally, psychologically, environmentally, and spiritually more contextual and more comfortable to its occupants. Abhikram now focuses on giving advisory consultancy in their field of expertise to all involved in the realm of the built environment. Welcome, Parul.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Abin Chaudhary. Abin founded Abin Design Studio, and his work focuses on the idea of holistic design, not just limiting to ideas, but also through multidisciplinary collaboration. He loves challenging the role of architecture in the society by being unafraid of unfamiliar explorations. His studio is also the recipient of several national and international accolades. Welcome, Abin.
Thank you, Ankana. Thank you, everyone.
Ayush Kasliwal. Ayush, an NID Ahmedabad alumnus, is one of India's leading design thinkers, practitioners, and advocates for artisans. He is established AKFD and co-founded Anantaya to retail artisanal craft within the culture space. The UNESCO Award of Excellence has recognized his designs multiple times. He has also licensed products to Meta, a Danish ethical design house, and Inno, and has also collaborated with many architects on projects and installations. Ayush has numerous awards to his credit, including Lexus Design Award, India 2019 and 2020. Welcome, Ayush.
Thank you. So I take this opportunity to thank everyone for being here. And I promise it will be a super engaging event because we have amazing speakers, Abin and Parul with us. A quick background on what creative dignity is. So at the onset of the pandemic, many of us who work very deeply in the craft sector realized that there is a problem, a big problem. The interesting thing is that this problem was waiting to happen. We have for the longest time considered and taken our crafts and craftspeople for granted. It's a situation which needs to and must change. Creative dignity is a movement where many of the people who are deeply involved with crafts have come together to address, firstly, the immediate situation of how to bring about relief. Subsequently, how do we rejuvenate? How do we get artisans back into the economic cycle? Because a lot of things have bypassed them. The world of e-commerce has largely bypassed this huge sector. And thirdly, how do we address the future? How do we look at re-establishing the preeminence that crafts has had within our lives. In this talk, we talk specifically about how crafts come together in the built environment. Interestingly, crafts form one of the largest consumers of crafts and craftspeople's skills is the construction industry. Close to this second after the textile industry, we have, I think, a great possibility of seeing what we can do with our crafts, because that really is our edge. We live in India and we can do things which much of the world cannot even think of. Both the people today have practiced crafts in many different varieties to create environments that stimulate, that are beautiful, and show crafts to their best capacity. Creative Dignity is a movement, and you can know more about it at creativedignity.org, and I will give you a contact email ID shortly in the presentation. For now, I would like to welcome Parul Ben, who I've always deeply admired. Parul Ben and Nimish Bhai have had a very close association with Jaipur, that's where I'm from. And I have always looked upon them, not just for the work that they do, but the wisdom that they bring. There's a simplicity and elegance about what they do, and a direct relationship to possibilities that we as a country need not just treasure and restore, but build upon, evolve our own language. So Parul, on to you. You would love to see what you do.
Thank you, Ayush. I thank you very much for this introduction and inviting me to this seminar. I thank NITCO, and I thank Mr. Vivek Talwar for introducing me. And I thank all the viewers and participants in this seminar for participating. While I'd like to share my screen first, and while I'm sharing that. See, we were educated in one of the most premier institutes of India, CEPT. And from there, Nimish got an admission to go to MIT, and I joined him there. And even when we were studying here and visiting IIM, etc., and worshipping, even all the modern architecture that was there, we were still questioning what was it doing when you see buildings and people not being really happy in these modern buildings. And whereas you saw that people living in traditional buildings, whether it was in Jaipur, I also grew up in Ahmedabad, parts of it, vacations I spent in Jaipur and other places in older cities, while living in one of the modern construction. And I saw that in 10 years' time, the lintels started cracking up, the roofs were leaking in newer houses, etc. And I was really questioning what is happening? Why is this happening? And once we went to US, and we saw that all the cities look the same. You travel from one end to the other, all you have to see is nature is all that is different. So we decided that, having come from India with such a variety, where we say bar gaon pe boli badlati hai, the language changes in 12 miles. So in a place, when you come from a place like that and you see so much of variety, so much of craft, and you want to look at, if I go to Jaipur, I know what to expect. I expect a pink city. I go to Udaipur, I expect a white city, and I expect certain kind of architecture. In Ahmedabad, I look at the old city and there is so much of woodwork, beautiful woodwork. And as modern architect, you are looking down upon that, not even understanding why that was done, not even understanding why the old buildings did not need air conditioners. They were comfortable to live in. The electricity came in much later, but they had to deal with without electricity. And those buildings were cooler. Why? They had devised their own ways of doing this. So on returning to India, and we decided we don't want to work in a developed country like that, but we also traveled Europe and Africa and worked in Africa for 2 years. And we saw the how the vernacular architecture was and what was the architecture like before the World War II and Industrial Revolution. So we decided when we come back to India, we want to relearn. We want to learn how our India was built. And all our projects, initial projects, were all about learning with craftsmen, with crafts, and just observing them, giving them the freedom to work. And we also learned that you have to design with them. Sorry, I can't. Huh. You have to learn through these craftsmen. We realized we were not familiar with these crafts. We were not familiar with the materials. All you knew was steel, brick, and concrete. So we got an opportunity in 90s to build something in mud in Ahmedabad, near Ahmedabad. So the client wanted round huts so that he had found he could meditate very well in a circular building where he used to go into the Himalayas and he used to meditate there. So we said there are no stones in around Ahmedabad. What we can use is mud. So let's use local material, which is mud, and let us get craftspeople from Kutch. All we did is we put down the drawings and showed them that this is the way the client wants. Whatever changes they asked us to do based on their knowledge of the structure, knowledge of the wood, knowledge of the mud, etc., we did that. And we were always questioning. And so this is all the mud dug out of the site and sun-dried bricks. And this is the babul wood, which is very hard. We always used to wonder whenever we saw these Kutchi wooden crafts, wooden trays or wooden furniture, why is it that it was straight and why did they have to really do so much of surface carving? Why couldn't they leave it? That's when we understood from them that because that wood, you can't really polish it well. You can't smoothen it with whatever tools were available at that point in time. And the variation in color is a lot. So what they do, they chisel. So all your attention goes to the carving and you forget about the differences that are there in the wood. I mean, it's such an amazing way to look at it. And we just gave them the freedom. All we gave them is we want to do these huts. This is the size. We want to use your decoration. There will be places in flooring we may have to do IPS, and in kitchen and toilets, we will use kapchi, that is China mosaic, and we will have a platform. The rest is all going to be mud. So you tell us how it is to be done. They would just show us a sample. They would devise when to bring what is the maximum size of opening that they can give us, what are the doors and windows, how will they do that. You did not have to bother to create, I mean, we did not need anyone on the site. No site engineer was required, except for the contractor who was doing the IPS. The storage units that you see, they made over 5 months or so, because it can only be built inch by inch. The furniture that we created, we got the furniture craftsmen to make the furniture members. We gave it to them, they carved it, and the furniture carpenter put it together. So this is what we have. All these shelves are about 5 inches cantilevered from the wall without any structural member. It's just their mud. They know which mud to use for plaster. They know which mud to use for sealing the joint between the roof and the wall so that it doesn't leak, and which mud to use and how to process it for these shelves. I mean, what more do you need? And all this, and why they had mirrors in it? Because you have smaller openings, and the minute you have mirrors, the light is multiplied and the heat ingress is less. And this is what we had made for the light boxes. We did not want to show in this place any of these modern materials. And this is what it looked like at night. And we got the textile designer to work with their motifs and evolve the textiles. And in 80s, we were doing conservation work in Udaipur. And that's when the convener of Jaipur, who attended our talk for Udaipur, he asked us to work with him in Amer and Jaipur. And this is the Haveli that we found. We wanted to convince people in Udaipur. It was easier to convince people because they belonged to Udaipur. And they had a pride of their own of not bowing down to any sultanates or the British, etc. So it was easy to invoke that pride and make them feel, convince them about using their own traditions. Whereas here in Amer, when we came, we faced a different problem because most of them were migrants. Only 6 or 7 Havelis had survived. Only 6 or 7 original occupants of Amer people were there. Otherwise, everyone had migrated to Jaipur. So we realized that we will have to engage these people in it. So we said, firstly, we need to get the traditional craft people. We don't know anything about the stone, the lime construction, we were not aware of at all. We only knew cement. So John Singh looked for craftspeople, and in 3 months, we found one traditional craft person who was willing to come and do things. And when he was convinced that we genuinely want to do things the way traditionally they were done, he brought 4 more, and then people followed. So this is the ruin that you see before. And this is what it looked like when Prince Charles visited it a day before that. 70% of the same material, stone as well as lime, were recycled and they were reused in this building. Can you imagine using cement recycled? It's not even biodegradable. Something that was made 500 years ago, which was a ruin at least for last 100 years, the same material can be reused. And that is what we need to do. And what we told the craftspeople, the artisans, and the leader that we are your students. We know nothing about this. We want to restore this place, and we want to involve the local people as well. So we would have a meeting with the local townspeople and ask them कि अच्छा इसको क्या करना है आपको? आपको ये मकान में क्या लगता है हमें करना चाहिए? आप लोग तय करो, हम उसी तरह करेंगे. That instilled a lot of pride in them. They started owning up the project. And the craft people were also, we had given them the freedom. They said, Acha, how do we do the windows? How do we do the doors? We said, take a walk in Jaipur, take a walk in Amer, and see how they were done. And you decide. So we left the decisions to them. And this is what they created, except for some flooring. And in toilets, that's all where we have used the cement. The rest of the things were their decisions. They would say, shall we do Araish here? We said, yes. What color to use? We said, you decide. The kind of niches, we said, we don't even know what were the principles of designing these niches. So how can we tell you? They said, okay, just leave it to us and we will do it. And they created this wonder. Look at this. And they would get excited. They would say, हम painting भी कर दे उस पे? Of course करो आप. ये आपका मकान है, आप करो. And this is चूने की छत है. There is no flooring on this. They said, can we experiment with instead of the stones that you have asked us to lay down elsewhere, on the terrace, we will just do a lime floor. And it has survived for so many years now. So this was a process when we were learning. At the same time, John and Faith, seeing the way this building was turning out, they said, we want to do a farmhouse, which eventually became their main house. And again, there we got another set of craftspeople, which they located, and we started learning from them. They said, we said you generally have ये पत्थर की छत होती है आपकी, तो आप कैसे करोगे? We designed, we were stupid enough to make 12 feet width of the room because that is what you ideally require, at least minimum. So they said 12 feet तो नहीं हो सकती. How can you do that? Because पत्थर की पटरी ही 11 feet तक आएगी. So we said अगर आप झरोखा बाहर कर सकते हो, you can extend it outside. Why can't we do the same thing inside? So they said, they came up with the solution. So this is the way the roof was laid. This is the first slab that was laid. That's when they do the puja. And they showed us how to go about the structure. We did not have any structural designer involved in this then or even now, because that house keeps growing and changing. And they would bring the lime, they would slake it, they would put the admixtures in it, which is Google, methi, etc. And then we were wondering, why are you doing this? ये concentric circles क्यों कर रहे हैं, या ये अब stone chips में से? उन्होंने बोला वो करना पड़ता है. We said okay. We had not realized why. And then they had brought lots of kullards on the site, and we were wondering what's happening next. So that is above this, the kullards were laid and lots of lime was laid in. First they put in water. It was more liquid lime, so it went into the between the gaps, and that was the thickness of the lime that went on top. And what were the vibrating it with? The sticks of certain creepers that they know that they grow around that place. And the next day they would come up with a harder stick. And you can see that this house has grown. Most of these designs of columns, jarokas, everything is theirs. We only give basic plans. And look at the wonder that they create. It's a beautiful place. We love it in all seasons. Then we were working with Rajasthan Housing Board. And having worked with these people, we realized that they don't need a clerk of works. And the kind of drawings that we do, what we have learned for 300 years, while the British were here and even after our independence, we have total Western education, where they have not understood. And if they have understood, they definitely did not want our craftsmen to survive or our arts to survive. And if you read at lots of books and researches that have been done, it is obvious that it was a intended approach and policies that the British had come up with. So they only needed a drawing that showed them exactly what will happen from foundation level to sill level. So we said we don't want any clerk of works. हम ऐसा ही drawing आपको देंगे जो आप कर सकते हो उससे. Similar here, you give whatever structure is there, the doors and windows, so that there is no cross-referencing required by them. You have one sheet of drawing and that fellow will continue to do it. This is something we were doing for Oberoi's in Jaisalmer. So a jharokha, you just give them ye aisa chahiye, this is the way we want. Write in some drawings in Gujarat, we also write in Gujarati where traditional craftsmen are concerned, and they come up with wonderful work. They don't have to come to you to ask. They will decide how many number of stones for chhajja they need. They will do all the quantities. They will only come to you with what is required. This is again a resort in Udaipur that we did using the local stone. Everywhere we insist on using local materials. And look at the stone that comes. It is that uneven stone. They just dress it a bit. And this is the kind of sharp vertical line that you get, which is difficult to get even in brick and plaster. And this is an exposed stone. And look at the jewel-like finish. I mean, in between whatever are the gaps, they embed the small stones that they have, the chips that you see, some of them lying here. And these are the beams that they create from these long stones. And they are also for the slabs. You don't need to tell them. This is the way we had done. We had started doing the slabs when we wanted a longer spans, wider rooms. You have the brackets, then you have a stone on that, and the rest of the patthar patri rests on this. And we said we need stormwater drainage. So this is what they come up with. They design these beautiful arches is not our design. All that is theirs. We just tell them how deep we need that gutter line to be, rainwater drainage to be. And again, this was another attempt near Jodhpur, where we have sand dunes as part of our site. And it's just off the highway. It's on the highway, actually, that connects Jodhpur and Jaisalmer. Again, local stones. Nothing is, even here, all the soft furnishings were also made locally. IICD students who were doing their internship with us, they designed it with guidance from faculty from NID. And they went and surveyed the craft clusters and designed all the fabrics, which were made locally. So imagine how much work one hotel can generate for people. And this is their restaurant, open air restaurant, the entrance area. If you can see the precision that you get in their work, there are three kinds of stones. This is mandana, black granite, and soft white marble. You ask any person working in Ahmedabad or in any metros to combine these stones together and come up with an even surface, it's not possible. They always deny that. Whereas these people have always told us, "Arey, kuch bhi de do hame, sab kuch ho jayega." We just gave a concept of what kind of fountain we want. They would just do some, send us the samples, and that's what you have. Perfection, you don't have to tell them that it has to be perfect. They know, they carry a sense of pride in the kind of work they do. We hardly supervise this whole place. We used to go, there was no engineer on site. The client used to drive down from morning till evening from Jodhpur, and he would return in the evening. And just interpretation of drawings, if at all required, was done by him. Otherwise, these people were on their own. अच्छा क्या पत्थर चाहिए आपको? Okay, हो जाएगा. You give us, they challenged us, you give us any kind of design and you can see the kind of joinery that we will give you. Just do the most complex designs that you can. And this is a curved corridor, curved room. And the way they match in that, we will do the drawings. But look at the craftsmanship. Lakha red is one of the strongest granite. Black granite comes after that. And this is one of the softest marble that they mined. They were mining just 50 kilometers from this place, which looks very much like a Italian marble. So we had decided for columns to be done. We needed concrete beams and concrete slabs, at least here in the main building. So the structural engineer working with us had designed this. And when Nimish was on site, so he said, let's put the tablets perpendicular to each other and let's see what happens. So this is what happened. And then they said, they put up the columns and they called us up. We received a call one day and they said, Ab ispe we have to do concreting for the beam and the slab. So all that concrete will come on these exposed stones. So how do we protect it? So we spent one day thinking about plastic lagaenge, there will be marks left with the sellotapes, etc. What shall we do? How do we tie it up? Then we received a call next day, said, don't worry. Our craftsman has showed us the solutions. We said, what? So he said, he just went down, he stepped down, he dug a hole in the earth, put water there, made plaster out of that mud and pasted it on all these columns and the walls, which were made in stone. And so how more biodegradable can you be? The minute concreting was done, you just washed it off and the earth went back to the place where it came from. These are two types of stones. All the surveying of what local stones are available, there are three actually, 1, 2, and 3 stones. that they would bring the samples and tell us, ha, ye thickness mein milega, this stone you will get in that thickness. So we only have to tell them, do a chhajja and look at the perfection that you get. And they can actually stand on this and then they work. And they have that confidence. This steps that you see, each step is one stone, which is cantilevered from that side of the wall. They work from that side, they cantilever it here, and look at the straight line that you get. We don't have to tell them that we need perfection. And in cities, for modern architectural work, you have to continuously supervise. And these people don't need any supervision, and we are not using their knowledge. All you need to tell them is, if we bring your teacher, if we bring your parents, whoever have taught you this, if they approve what you're doing, we have no issues. And they should not be ashamed of the work that you have done. That's all you need to tell them. And this is Udaivilas, the Oberoi Udaivilas in Udaipur. This again had employed about 300 highly skilled craftspeople for 3 years and 3,000 artisans. Most of them were local for 2.5 years. That was the condition that we had put down, that we must use any hospitality building that comes up. We always claim that it is there, or any industry. It's there to create jobs for local people. Actually, local people don't get jobs because most of the things come from outside. Half of the stuff is imported. So Mr. Oberoi also wanted that we use local stuff. So even their soft furnishings are locally made. And we have lime wash on this. Mr. Oberoi felt, why are you asking us to use lime? Because it's cheap. We said no, because that's antifungal, antibacterial, and that's the right thing to do there. And this was a almost 200 feet long walkway that you had, and it was blank wall. So from the corridor, from one end right up to the presidential suite. So we were wondering what to do. And then Nimish said, why don't you do a wedding procession? Or just a procession. So they came up with this idea. We have not designed it. They would show us these drawings and they would say, on the wall, they would say, do you like it? If we don't like something, they would say, हाँ, कल आ जाना. We will show you another sample. This is where we learned how they do paintings. Even for the paintings and other painting work, they would just give you examples. This is the lime that they make. This is ये आराइश का काम है. On the columns, some are concrete columns and some are stone columns, depending on what strength we needed structurally. And this is how he's applying. Look at his concentration, the way he's working on it, the precision that comes about. Look at him. And this lime is slaked for at least 9 months. You have to prepare this lime for 9 months to 1 year. You don't have to tell them. They would say, Acha, when do you need it? Okay. In that case, they will take care of it. They will put it in matkas, in earthen pots, keep changing the water every day, and make sure that that quantity of lime that you need is available to you when you need it. This is hand-done work. Only machines are required. They use machines to remove the labor part. Where craft is required, it's their own hands that craft it. This is not CNC machine. None of this was CNC machine. Sorry. And this is how it is used. Continuous flow of water on it. The jalis, look at the way they will match. If you see how the center is here, the way it meets here, that's exactly the way it will meet here. That's exactly the way it will be centered here. We don't tell them to do that. They do it. They know what to do. And this is the strength of our craftspeople all over India. Look at this chain, jali. So much of perfection. And for the lily pond, the way they are doing, they know how much work they have to produce because their supervisor has told them. and they continuously work at it. Look at the design and the joints that we have given, and look what perfection we've got from them. You give them anything and they will do it. But you have to work with them. For us, they always become part of our design team. It's the client, ourselves, and them who work together on a design because they know the material better. They know how much they can stretch that material. The mirror works. We would tell them that this is the size of the niche and we want phool patti. We want peacocks. We want something, and they will come up with all those options for you to select. There will be drawings that you will see. You will get even how to cut this. You don't have to tell them what should be the shape. They know what the shape should be. So we feel there are so many teachers and hardly any students. Our modern education has taken us away from our roots, and it's high time that we work with them. We accept them as our teachers, literally teachers. I'm not saying just for the sake of saying it. We have to learn from them. Many a times I feel we don't need graduate teachers to teach in our colleges. We need them. Only then things will start changing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arvind. So, it's really amazing, like the way you've incorporated crafts in what you do in a very true sense. And, what's amazing is that you're looking at evolution, a bedrock of what we already have. How do we evolve beyond that? Which is very, very inspiring. And like you said, too many teachers, too few students. I feel that with crafts, we have too many makers and too few patrons.
Absolutely.
So, as you said, it is not in their hands, it's in our hands. And many of the people, many of the audience here are people who are in the capacity to actually commission works, to actually engage with craftspeople, not only to get something nicer, better, but also to actually reduce work. Bilkul objectively, if you look at it, today, if an architect does a parametric, architectural building, the amount of work they have to do is beyond crazy. So, it's really inspiring, and I hope a lot of people take back, possibilities of what can be done. The language could be the architects, but the skill, the knowledge could be of the land, of the people who are there.
See, for you to learn and to evolve another language, you first have to learn what is the basic.
True. Very
So
true.
that is what was our journey was for many years. And then now you can evolve taking the same craft, the same material in whatever contemporary way you want. So all our contemporary buildings are very different. But again, they have to be contextual to the region.
Very much.
You can't come and plant something which is totally different in that place, because why do people travel? Why do we travel from one city to the other to see what? If all the buildings look the same. And another thing is our ego. We as an architect have an immense ego about us, that we have to be designers, and that is what you're taught. Why can't you blend? All the jalis that you would see in Jaipur or all the openings, each one is different from the other. Each building is different, but yet there is a harmony.
True.
Anyway, thank you. Yeah.
So thank you very much, Parul. And here I would now like to introduce Abid. Sorry, Vivek, you wanted to say something.
I've seen lots of presentation, but this was the most amazing presentation I've ever seen. It was really, really good. Fantastic. And you're doing a fabulous job. Parul, thank you so much for doing what you're doing. But just to add here, that we are doing all this with machines. In NITCO, we do all this with machines.
I know.
We have the capability and we have the machines, all kinds of machines to do all this.
So,
how can you involve them?
Right.
We have to involve them.
We have to see how to, yeah, absolutely. That is what we can all help you with.
Yes, that would be great.
So, all of us and, with the vision that NITCO has, I think if we combine hands, if we join hands, I think we can do things that the world can only dream of. So, Vivekji, I really hope to see NITCO use more and more craftspeople in the products that they make for and how they make their products. And now I'd like to invite somebody from the opposite end of the spectrum. Abin, who has an incredible vision. He's a very modern architect and he does projects at a huge scale. And he patronizes crafts, but also a lot of crafts which are integrated in contemporary buildings. You know, the people who lay down stones, even in normal buildings, people who put tiles, they're all craftspeople at one form or the other. Even when they're applying gypsum, you know, on the ceilings, they're all craftspeople. So Abin, I would like to sort of now invite you to do a presentation and talk about the people that you work with.
Thanks, Ayush. I'll show you one project we recently completed and thank you, Nitko, all the team, Karuben, everyone. So this is an interesting project that we are working right now. Just to kind of this is the projects a part of that in my hometown, which we are engaging with the local crafts and ceramic artists and few terracotta quarries and brick fields. Basically, this is a kind of an intervention projects which client want to do something in like a garage, and we transformed into a local community center. So it's kind of an engagement of the local people, also my clients and the whole the team of ADS who has worked with them very minutely for last 4 years. So we just recently completed, and this project is a kind of tribute to the idea of the temple that nearby and also the terracotta temple. So this is 300 years terracotta temple just beside my house. And when we are actually designing and convince the client and convince the local people that we should have a community center, and also the design I'll explain to you because it's more about the culture of the local place and other things to address. But it is also a kind of an tribute to that terracotta, which you only get in Bengal, and how you actually collaborate with this kind of projects in a very modern form. So in this particular projects, we collaborated with an ceramic designer and artist who works on site with us for last 4 years. And in this particular projects, we not only actually develop the brick sizes, we also multiple ceramic tiles. And those ceramic tiles made on sites and with various patterns to create a kind of a complete combine of the project. So we also studied how the terracotta temple has been taken and the panel has been made on all those things. And eventually, this project has been completed recently. We have not published yet, but it's going to be published very soon. And this is a project, this is a model. So in CEP, it has been exhibited the first time. So just to give you an idea of understanding of that particular projects. So what was happening is it was a dormitory and garage was there. And then we try to figure it out how the culture of that particular place or multiple processions has been engaging with this kind of road, because this road is one of the key engaging processions happening all the years, to try to create a gallery for the whole localities and also galleries on the roof. And eventually this become a kind of a space for the community place for the local people. And this become a now community center, and upper level become teaching center. And this is a kind of an extraordinary collaboration between our office to create those project for, and also creating a fund management, also bringing local people, local sourcing and maintenance. And today this become a gift to the local people. So this is one of the projects of the 10 projects that we have recently completed in our locality in 3 square kilometers, which has been present in CEP. So it's kind of an making of place. So this project has a kind of an 216 pieces of multiple bricks, terracotta, ceramic panels, ceramic design has been created on site, and each one has been implemented over here. And we don't use woods here, so we use only a concrete, brick, metal, and every doors, windows has been created on metals. And this is a kind of steps where people take steps or sits over there. And these are the various kind of shape of bricks and sizes that we have created for a ventilation of inside. So it is a kind of small illustration of how the voids and other things have been created. And this is a very critical in terms of idea of arch of the concrete, but we actually engage almost in stitching with the brick with the steel and also the reinforcement steel, and then hold those bricks together. So there is a kind of an detailed illustrations that we have created on this particular projects. And even though we have very interesting lights, which actually we created in kind of an interesting maneuvering with an MS steel, which figured out in terms of an steel structure, like a concrete steel structure, and then with an acrylic, how it can be taken care of the light. So just a few snapshot from the corner, how the buildings look like. And when the construction time that we are engaging with this, you can see that there are multiple ceramics and panels has been designed. And he's Partho Dasgupta, who is a ceramic designer we collaborated with. And like this, we have done each one with the process of ceramics, with the process of raku firing, that we have created a multiple members of elements and bricks and ceramics with those particular projects, and created all those panels. And this has been so we created a workshop beside the sites, and then we put it almost in 216 kind of pieces to make sure that the project has been taken care of. So this is the various part of process on site, then when the process will be happening. And he's my manager, project manager on site. This guy is a ceramic craftsman. They are on site, which are designing. So even the light and furniture, everything is made in ceramic and steel. So these are the brick that we have actually taken care of to receive the slabs. So we have a detail, I'll show you the pictures on this. So how the arches has been taken care of course, it is within the concrete panel, and then we created the brick as a part of the kind of arches as a shuttering. So almost an inch by inch elevations drawings has been produced. So there is no kind of mistake that somebody can really done like this. And this is the final picture of that particular project. So this is the parapet wall. So you can see that how the brick has been taken to receive the concrete surface and our gateways. So this building has a really kind of an very interesting and engaging community center today in the locality, and people start engaging on those things, because there is no kind of an boundary wall or barricade or something. So people over there is keep coming, and they are engaging on this all this process. So it's a very simple plans. And if you see the section, so it's kind of a place that you can go down, and also upper level is right now in teaching center. So it's in model pictures that we have provided. So some of the interesting snapshot of that project. So this is the concrete, which is actually a step down on the roof. So it's on the roof also the procession people can see. If you see remember the sections and some of the areas where we have actually taken a picture of that. Even the windows and other things has been actually crafted with completely metal and frames. So that's, and the light comes from there, so which actually detail out from the slabs. So some of the pictures of how the detailing has been created. So this picture has been taken from the other side of the building. So that's the thing. So Ayush, I just wanted to tell you, because showing this picture, because this project has been completed recently, and we have deeply engaged with the kind of the ceramic artist and the craftsman on site, and created a kind of, and so it's a twofold of engagement. One is involving with an artisans and an ceramic designers, and rigorously on the process of designing. And another thing is engaging with the local people to not only create those projects, making those places, also almost and trying to fund those projects with various sources, creating maintenance manuals, and engaging who will be the teacher, will be teaching those things, mechanism for paying them to engage those building, or it become a kind of live and start serving the community. So it's a twofold of way of engagement for us.
So, Abhin, I think this more than anything is a labor of love.
Yeah.
It is, I think your engagement with this is not just as an architect, it is much more.
Yeah.
I think that is because it is your locality. So when
Yeah.
we talk about local, I think that's a very nice dimension, because do things where you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
When, for all of us architects, right now we don't think twice for doing a project anywhere in the world. But what about where you are?
Yeah.
And I think that unique understanding of how people live and how buildings respond to how people live
Yeah.
is a very crucial link.
Yeah.
And like crafts, you cannot separate like something from craft, architecture, how we live. It's all one and the same.
All in the
This
same.
building is such a great example of it. And I mean, what is also really amazing is that you've used a lot of contemporary crafts. Pouring concrete in the steps that you said you've done is a skill in itself. It's a huge skill. The benches that have the broken tiles that are put together. So
Yeah.
what is nice is that crafts have evolved in the way you're working. So while it is local, it is also interpretations and using materials and techniques that are now available, but the spirit of making is still intact.
Yeah.
And I think in that sense, the projects Parul spoke about and the projects you've done are a fantastic counterpoint to each other. With crafts is central because both of you have used crafts. One in a very Indian, very settled, very evolutionary way, and you've used things in a very revolutionary way. And I think there's space for both.
Yeah.
There's space not just for both, there's space for many, many more things. And this is the power that we have in India to make. And I think for all of us, I am deeply inspired by both of you. And I think one of the questions that might be coming up is how do we collaborate? Because I think what you do is something all of us can learn from in so many different dimensions. So I think, Anika, I would now leave you to ask any questions. And also, we are running a little beyond time. I do hope all the attendees are okay with that, because what we're discussing here could literally not just change our lives, but the lives of many people, many craftspeople that we would interact with. So Anika, do ask any audience questions that have come up.
Even the second presentation is so close to my heart. The first one was stone, second one was ceramic. I mean, we are stone and ceramic people. This is what we do, and this is all what we have done all our life and will do for the rest of our lives. So it's amazing for us to be to have the opportunity of seeing this. Thank you so much. I mean, really loved it. And Parul, of course, it was fantastic. And we would love to get involved any which way that you would want us to get involved.
Sure.
What would be amazing is if NITCO can look at documenting and making these resources available to many architects. And I think that's a service that is direly needed, because currently, if somebody's looking for a ceramic artist to work with, they really have no place to go to. Is there an alumni or a directory of artisans who we can reach out to if you want to do stonework? Right now, none. Those few artisans that John and Facing, literally, they searched for months to find the people to do the job. So I think if NITCO, with its resources, with its capability, with its reach, can look at that as a potential project, as a potential thing that will redeem India's architectural future, literally, I think that could be a phenomenal legacy that a company like yours can give for the country.
We would be happy and delighted to do this and try and promote this all over India, because we are all over India, and we would be happy to do it. Absolutely delighted to do it.
Thank you so much. And I think we at Creative Dignity are going to be after you to do this.
Anytime.
Yes, Parul, you were saying something.
Yes, I was saying that, see, cement, you have to look at it with a different eye, because cement and concrete are not biodegradable. The cement is made from lime, a lime which is biodegradable, which can last for centuries. And in the making of lime, not so much pollution is used. And when you make lime, it can be made in a small kiln. Lime is available everywhere, otherwise, you won't be able to make the cement because that is the raw material for cement. Okay. But while you make cement, you're creating so much pollution that पहले ऐसे कहते थे कि जब लाइम की किल्न के पास से कोठारी को लाना है, कोठाध्यक्ष जो होते थे of the kings, because of that chuna, that lime, its quality, their lungs and they would be strong. Today, if you bring anyone from cement factories where they are making cement, their lungs are dead. Half of their lungs are dead. So we have to become conscious about what are we doing to the environment. And let me tell you, for industries to become sustainable, the environment and people have become unsustainable. And COVID has taught us 1 month of lockdown and nature can revive itself, but we will die. So now we don't have to work for environment, we have to work for ourselves.
True. Very true.
So we have to really, and why did cement come into India? Because they wanted to make buildings very fast because of the World War. Whatever was destroyed in the World War, the Britishers and in Europe, that's how cement was discovered. And because UK made cement when they were, we were under their rule, colonial rule, they brought their first shipment as well. It was being brought here. Our lime kilns were be forced to close down so that they can sell their cement. And then they set up their cement factories. You know, we all need to get back to this history, see the roots of how and why these changes have come. And then we start from there and then make it contemporary because everything has always evolved. But we should not forget the strength of what we already had. Take that strength and don't destroy it.
True, absolutely. And for those of us who did not know, the construction industry accounts for between 25 to 40% of carbon emissions globally.
Yeah.
That is a huge thing. So what Parulben is saying has got a phenomenal impact on our future as a species and as a planet. The planet will survive, as Parulben said.
Exactly.
We won't survive on this planet.
Yes.
So I think it's a call that all of us have to take as how we lead into the future in a sustainable way. And one more thing about crafts is that crafts are highly sustainable because it uses more of human energy. And humans are the largest mammal on the planet. So that is what we need to do. We need to get more and more work. We need to get more and more people to do things with less and less resources.
Yeah.
So I think that is another very strong case for us to support artisans and artisanal work.
Yes.
If may I jump in here?
Sure, Vishpala.
Quietly for a long time. It has been fabulous discussion. So I'm part of the Creative Dignity team, and this is a topic very, very close to my heart. I am also an architect, and later on done my furniture designing from NID. And what you said very rightly, throughout my architectural study, I was trying to look for local techniques, local material, but there was not a single book or a course available which you could study. Everything we studied which came from outside India.
Yeah.
And I still remember the first building which I till date remember is the Saheliyon Ki Bari in Rajasthan. I had gone to see, and there I could see the big trees growing on second, third, fourth level. And it was amazing to see that we could do this really, really long back, centuries back, we could do it. And now today you see the state of architecture. It's really something to think about. So I think this is a time for us to collaborate and move together between the people who really think that this is something we have to take forward. In last 6 months through Creative Dignity, in fact, we figured out that so many of us, all of us are volunteers, and everyone is so passionate about this whole craft field be it architecture, be it textile, be it non-woven fabric, whatever, you name the craft, and people are so passionate. And the big success about Creative Dignity is everyone has come together for one common cause, without keeping our egos aside, that okay, this is my design, this is, I have studied so much about it, so how can I share. Everyone is so open, and that is, I feel, is the big success we could see till now. And we have to take this spirit forward, and see to it how we can apply it to the bigger community, how we can reach out to the younger generation. Now I think it's for us to reach out to the design students and tell them about the things we have learned over the years and how they can take that forward. And we are very happy to collaborate in whichever way we can be the bridge, or we can get the artisans together with the architects, artisans, the technicians. We need all of this together, so how we can get the technology, artisans, and the crafts together.
One thing I would like to say, that it's not just the designers that we need to train. We need to train the engineers who are going to be on the site. Their curriculum also needs to change. One of the deans, he's no more, unfortunately, of Vadodara, MS University, he told us, he was a very old person, he said, I have seen Britishers change our books from the whole construction book would be on lime, and they had reduced it once the cement came in to few pages on lime. So because they did not want us to use lime, they wanted us to use cement.
But Parul Ben, the thing is that we've allowed that to happen, and we've continued to let it happen.
Because
so I think it is now up to us to see whether we want to continue with something that we know is not okay, and or make the change that all of us can be.
Absolutely.
And I think a very big part of being an architect and design person is that we can influence change.
Absolutely.
We can suggest things to people.
Exactly.
It's the power of our profession. So let us use it for the good. Let us use it for everybody's good, including the clients.
Yeah.
If we give them a smaller space that is better, better ventilated, better conditioned, whose health is getting better?
Yeah.
Theirs, right? So it is up to us on how we enroll and how we engage with people.
To make lime popular, see, in Rajasthan, people still use lime. To make lime popular in Ahmedabad, we refused to accept projects where the client did not want to use lime. And we have even rejected a huge school in Baroda where they wanted to use air conditioning for schools, students. We said, no, we have done schools in Nadiyad where we have used passive cooling. We have Torrent Research Center as a major example of passive cooling. We will give you passive cooled building, but we will not use air conditioners. So we let that project go. You have to learn to let go.
Yeah, I think very often we try and, kowtow to expectations. कि AC लगा होगा तो classroom अच्छा होगा, right? So I think, how do we use traditional and environmentally sustainable techniques as something that is smart, classy, hep?
Yes.
We can do that. We have the power to change that and make it the cool thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to make it the cool thing to
That's
do.
a great thought for all of us.
Yeah.
So Anika, any questions?
Yeah, so I think we have a couple of questions. There are a few people asking about how they can reach out to Creative Dignity and how to collaborate with them. So I think you've put the contact details on the chat, so anyone is free to reach out to you guys if you want to add anything to the.
Sure. So Creative Dignity is a completely volunteer-led movement. There is an organization, there is a structure, but everything is what you want to do. The central thing, the central aspect is, how do we work with craftspeople? So Vishpal has just posted the link to the form, to the volunteer form that you can fill out. You can be a volunteer, and in case you want to reach out to us and collaborate, otherwise, you can always write to design at creativedignity.org, and I will share that. Vishpal, could you please share that? And write to us and let us see how things can figure out. It is a very volunteer-led organization, and the focus is not upon the organization, but is upon all of the volunteers to do what they think they can do best. and most effectively. And the organization is there to foster what you want to do. So I think that is it's a beautiful movement. Check it out at creativedignity.org. Also look for the social media things that we're working on, and follow follow our social media handles.
In fact, right now we have, so we had 3 phases, which Ayush already spoke about. The relief and rehabilitation is over. The rejuvenation process, which is starting now, it involves a lot of design development and basically seeing what all efforts we need to take in terms of rejuvenating this industry, the whole crafts within India. So for that, you can be a designer, you can be the end user, you can be somebody who is just interested in this topic. We are very, very happy to collaborate with people, with ideas, with any live projects or any projects you think are possibilities, whichever way, and connecting the artisans back to the ecosystem is what we want to achieve in the end.
Also, we are Creative Identity is collaborating with Triple ID on a book which showcases 100 projects that have used crafts very evocatively and beautifully. So this message is also be going around. So you can follow the Triple ID social media handles to know more about that project. And if you have worked with crafts, please do submit it on the social media. You'll find the links on that. So I can share that out here as well, and I can share that. The details with Anika, and if Anika can forward it to all the participants, that would be great as well.
We just have a couple of more questions.
Sure.
Apeksha Jain is asking, talking about cement, concrete and lime, do you think there is some way we could use the construction debris and inculcate it in our construction practices? By producing newer materials, can we recycle the debris?
So Abhin, I think this one would be well answered by you, and then by Parveen.
Yeah, of course. I think that will be a very interesting idea. In fact, we are many architects are using this kind of debris as a part of the patterns, floating patterns, walls, and in fact, one of the finest architects I admire, one of the finest architects is Wang Shu in China, has been done his multiple projects with the debris and with the earthquake, the debris of earthquakes. He has made absolutely fascinating projects. So I was speaking to Samira Rathore. Samira is doing some of the interesting projects with debris of stones. So there is immense possibilities of working with this kind of debris and recycle those things in such a way that things can be absolutely fascinating.
Thanks, Abhin. We'll just take one more question before closing. Talking about architectural degrees, including course material that is largely influenced from outside India, what could be the reason for not including more material from within the country?
Probably the education.
The lack of knowledge about it.
Yeah.
For people, yeah, even it'll have to change all the way from government level to the institution level.
Yeah.
And it is also not cool to use traditional.
Well, Parveen, it's going to change now. It's going to be incredible.
We hope so. We hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. Right,
Yeah.
Abhin?
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember this one very clear, one subject we used to have. I did my architecture from VNIT Nagpur. In third year, we had something called as appropriate technologies, which was basically using the local materials. And we had one very passionate professor that time. But beyond him, actually, there was nobody else who could take that forward. And we were very few people, surprisingly, very few people were there for that course. Most of the students went for landscape or urban design that time. And very few came in. And as you said, that this is how people perceive it, that it's not so cool to learn about.
Absolutely. And I think we need to influence the government because they are the greatest builders in the country. And if government can be convinced about using it, and we have been telling even MAPU you know, so many 20 in 80s, we were telling Martin Singh also that INTEC should get involved in talking about conservation and all these materials and traditions and crafts to IAS officers, to IPS officers, etc. When they are being trained, in their training courses, we need to include these lectures so they become aware of all this. See, unless the policymakers, unless the management students, unless the engineers, they get into this, and even the doctors, you know, even our health people, they have to understand what the kind of paint we use.
Mm.
You know, it's VOC, all the volatile oxidized compounds, which are so harmful, which are creating so much of health hazards. Today, the hospitals are saying that hardly any patients come to them. Why? Because people have started looking at their immunity levels.
Mm.
Huh.
So, well, I think it is up to all of us now to take this upon ourselves and do what needs to get done. I don't think we need to wait for anyone now.
Yeah.
Just look around you. And at whatever scale you can find, you might find a tailor in your back, in your street, use that tailor. You might find a cobbler, use the cobbler. Whoever you can, wherever you can. Because there's so much skill, as Parul Ben has said, there's so much skill that is lying there for us to discover. You know, sometimes, has anybody seen Alibaba Chalis Chor? Read that? So, you know, Khulja Simsim. Now, Khulja Simsim, we are in the cave. We are in the cave. We don't have to say Khulja Simsim. We have it all around us.
Yeah.
So just let's open our eyes and go about what needs to get done. So with this, I'd like to thank everybody, the audience, particularly Parul and Abin and NITCO for having collaborated with Creative Dignity and had the vision to take this forward and take it forward in the future. So Vivekji, thank you so much for your words of encouragement. And I know all of us together can move the mountain. And Parul Ben and Abin, both of you are inspirations to all of us. We love seeing what you do. And thank you so much for taking out time on a Saturday to share your knowledge with all of us. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
I would like to take the opportunity of inviting all of you, whenever you happen to come to Mumbai and the lockdowns are permitting that, to come over, and it'll be a pleasure to have you over home, and we can take this conversation still further.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Talwar, and thank you, Abin, thank you, Anika, and thank you, Ayush, and thank you, the participants, for this wonderful opportunity, and thank you,
Vishpala.
Vishpala. That's a nice name, Vishpala. Thank you so much.
I would just like to thank Creative Dignity and the entire Creative Dignity team, Kunal Khandelwal, Vishpala Hundekeri,
Oh, okay.
Siddharth Das, Malvika Aswani, Aya Busrai, Aradhana Nagpal. And I'd also like to tell you all, we have 3 more webinars coming up in collaboration with Creative Dignity. We have Art and Spaces on 21st November, Textiles on 12th December, and Performance on 26th December. So I'm hoping everyone will join. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank